Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of JRPG Journal. And today we are going to end the anthology of Korea JRPGs. Now, for longtime listeners, you probably know what I'm talking about. But if you're kind of new to the show and you're not sure what I'm talking about, basically, I lived in Korea for a year from 2009 to 2010. And during that time, I sort of rediscovered JRPGs and kind of found my love for them all over again. And I played a lot of games that... frankly, I didn't play when they came out, and it was just a great time to play them on my PSP, and so anything that was on the PS1 Classic store, I just picked up and started playing. So today, I want to end that anthology with Suikoden, or Suikoden, or Suikoden. I don't know how you say it. Everybody's got their own way of saying it, but... So this is not necessarily the most well-known or well-sold game, JRPG series, even though there's, I believe, 5 or 6 games in the series now. 5 came to the West. I think there was a 6th one that came out in Japan that we never got for the PSP. But yeah, so 1 is this really interesting take on things. So it's not necessarily about, oh, you and your friends saving the world, or this sweeping, kind of warring political thing. Although it is a little bit political. There are factions, and you're trying to defeat the empire. And actually, spoilers. It's I believe your father is the one that's kind of leading the other army, and so the entire game is based around this idea that you can recruit up to 107 or 108 different playable characters, which is crazy, right? You think about that, like how much variety there is in recruiting all these characters and the ways you can do it, and like how easy it would be to skip these guys. And I can just remember that name just ringing a bell so much over the years for me. Just hearing that name, seeing it in magazines, hearing great things about it. And as the PS2 lifespan went on, we got 3 on the PS2 and we got 2 on PS1. And in fact, one of the single rarest PS1 games of all time is Suikoden 2. And so that was another reason why people, that's a series that's well revered, is because people know it's an expensive game, and then on top of all the recruitable characters. So I can remember playing this game and I'm like, I have to have a guide. There's just no way that I'm going to be able to play this game totally blind and without help, because I'm one of those people where if I know there's extra content, like I at least want to touch on it. I may not be able to have the time to do all of it, but I at least want to explore it. So I pulled up a guide. I remember going through, whenever I would play the game, I would just have this guide out so I knew where to get all these extra characters. And some of them were like so obscure. Like you had to do these very like crazy random tasks. And there were some times where you had to have certain characters to recruit other characters. So it wasn't easy necessarily. And I think one of the most fun parts about getting all these characters is eventually you get this castle. And what's really cool is as new characters join you, they like add something to the castle. Like one's a cook or one's like a blacksmith. And I can remember one like sets up this health spa or something like that. And so I just remember there being multiple times where I took my characters and we sat in this spa. It's sort of like a health spa, right? And it was just super funny and weird, and I can just I remember them. There's like funny little things they say, or I can remember them. They're even being like hearing people in the other room talking about them or something like that. It was just really fun. It was a game that didn't take itself too seriously, but also it did take itself seriously in some ways. The ending is really interesting. I'll say that much. So it's definitely worth seeing all the way through. And games back in those days, they could be 40 hours long, they could be 20 or even less than that. So this game really varies. It really depends how far out of your way you want to go to recruit all these different characters. I don't know if there's any special reward for recruiting every single one, but hey, if you're a completionist, then it's probably worth your while to get out there and try to figure out how to do it. I can remember another one of my favorite aspects about the game was just its really high quality pixel art style. Like I can remember there's just like scenes where you're walking around the forest and it's like weirdly atmospheric, where there's like these rays of light that pop in as you're walking around the forest. And it looked cool. It was just fun, like a fun place to explore, and it had these like really atmospheric sounds like birds chirping or leaves falling or like crunching leaves when you walk around, and just like this really cool music. So even though it was one of those JRPGs that decided to go with a pixel style on the PS1 as opposed to more polygonal, however you say it, it definitely had its own unique look and style. It was really cool. It was really neat. And one of the few JRPGs I can remember where the main character has a bow staff and not like a sword or a gun or something like that. So that always stood out to me as unique. Another kind of unique thing was its combat system. Now, the combat system in Suikoden was that where you could have up to 6 characters, and you would have 3 frontline characters and 3 backline characters. Now, the backline characters could not be hit with melee attacks, and only the frontline characters could. But if you had range, then obviously like all bets are off. You could have people, if you're getting attacked by a enemy that had ranged capabilities, then they could hit your backline and so forth. So it was really fun to kind of balance out what you wanted your team to be, because you had that option of doing the front line, the back line, and then on top of that, you also had just so many characters to choose from. And you could just have 6 melee characters if you wanted, or your main character who's obviously melee, and then like a bunch of casters or whatever you wanted to be. I mean, you want to talk about a game that like let you do what you wanted to do. I mean, Suikoden is it. You can build your castle however you want. You can build your team however you want. And you could get as little or as much out of that game as you could possibly want. So if you're looking for a game that has a lot of depth, a lot of variety in characters, and a game that's, when you talk about JRPGs, it's definitely not like your typical, what I would say classic JRPG. I mean, it is in the sense you go from town to towns and there's turn-based battles, but what I mean is like, oh, you're a teenager trying to save the world, or your hometown burned, or the tropes. It kind of gets away from the tropes of classic JRPGs in a really fun way. And it really set this cool standard for the series to come. And there's one thing I forgot to mention, I have to mention, is these kind of rock, paper, scissor battles. Now, this is sort of a story of like epic scale, because you want to recruit these characters, and then there's these battles that are sort of rock, paper, scissor battles where you fight armies, and based on what troops they throw at you, you have to decide what troops you want to throw back. So it's like, okay, so I have knights. Do I want to fight back with archers, or do I want to fight back with like ballistas? Or I forget what the 3 options are, but basically there's this really fun, these fun like sort of siege battles or like large scale battles where you can rock, paper, scissors your way through it. And it's really kind of interesting and engaging, and it kind of mixes the game up in a way. It has this really nice flow of like, okay, I'm going to go out and recruit characters, and then I'm also going to do these turn-based battles, which are fun. You can always keep fresh because of whatever characters you guys recruit. And then there's these kind of rock, paper, scissors, larger scale battles. So my game is on PSN right now. Currently, they still don't have PS1 classics available on PS4. So I think that'll be the last time I mention that until they do decide to bring them over. But if you have a PS3, a PSP, or a PlayStation Vita, you can download it digitally that way. Or if you want to try to get a hard copy, you can do that. Although it's kind of expensive, it's really held its value over the years. I think the original Suikoden is around like $40 or $50. You might get lucky and get it for lower than that, but that's about what I paid for my my copy. So anyways, guys, it's really good to be back. I know it's been a long time, but yeah, I'm gonna try to get one of these out once a week, and just continue to share my thoughts and experiences with awesome JRPGs. And there's definitely a lot of awesome stories upcoming to tell that I have not told yet. So yeah, thanks again for listening, watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.